Hi guys, I hope you're well and welcome to episode 158 of the James Layton Fitness Podcast. Now within this specific podcast I'll be discussing should females and males train in the same way when they're trying to lose body fat. And unfortunately a lot of people get this wrong. I think probably particularly females. Females seem to think that they should be training differently to males when trying to lose body fat. And that usually means they start heading towards the treadmill and then doing lots of CV stuff as opposed to weight training in their efforts to lose body fat. But the reality is, it is actually very similar. Males and females should train pretty much the same when trying to lose body fat. There's a couple of nuances which I'll discuss within this podcast, but for the most part they should be training pretty much the same when trying to lose body fat. And you're probably asking, okay, how should both be training? Well, essentially you need to have weight training as the foundation of your routine. This is critical because remember, we've got two goals when we're trying to lose body fat: to lose body fat obviously, and trying to maintain as much muscle mass as possible. It's really that second objective which dictates what we do with our weight training. Essentially you need to be doing lots of compound exercise, things like squats, deadlifts, bench press, overhead press, or variations of these, forming heavy weights, trying to really maintain your strength as much as possible, and that will allow you to maintain as much muscle mass as possible. And then you're merely using cardio and also decreasing calories as tools to create the energy deficit needed for fat loss. But weight training's there, heavy weight training's there to maintain that muscle mass, and then when you are losing weight, you're mainly losing body fat, water and glycogen as opposed to a lot of muscle mass. Now it's important to know there's always going to be a small amount of muscle loss in most fat loss phases, especially if you're an intermediate to advanced trainee. That's just because of the calorie deficit. However, we need to try and maintain as much of that muscle mass as possible. So again, females, males, both need to be doing lots of compound exercises, heavy weights. Another mistake a lot of people make is they transition to lots of high rep work. They believe that by performing lots of high repetitions they're going to burn more calories, lots of low weights. But the reality is, even though you'll burn more calories, that's not weight training's role within the fat loss phase. Weight training's role within the fat loss phase is just to maintain muscle mass. We'll do all the extra calorie burning from cardio and also decreasing calories, but weight training, that should just stay constant. We're trying to use that as the tool to help maintain muscle mass within the fat loss phase. Now, a couple of other nuances. Unfortunately for females, most females just typically require more cardio and less calories to lose body fat. Unfortunately for females, that does make it a little bit more tricky, but that's just due to their genetic makeup, just require more cardio and less calories. Additionally, I typically like to add more lower body glute work when working with my female clients. So typically train this area more frequently. Most people don't want to get a huge upper body. Don't get me wrong, you're not going to get a huge upper body by doing lots of weight training, but the lower body, especially glutes, is really an area that most females want to develop, and therefore you can train lower body glutes a little bit more frequently, and that's typically what I like to do. Whereas with my male clients, there's a pretty even split between lower body and upper body, but with my female clients, I like to add a little bit more lower body as opposed to upper body within the fat loss phase. So there's a couple of nuances there, but for the most part there's not going to be too much difference in terms of how you should be trained to lose body fat. And then it's just a case of measuring your progress and then either adding in more cardio or dropping calories when you reach your fat loss plateau, but that weight training just stays fixed. There's no real changes that need to be made. The only thing I would say is you're gonna want to have a routine that has slightly less volume than a muscle building phase. So volume sets times reps times loads. That basically means slightly less sets really throughout your week, just because you're in a calorie deficit. You don't have the calories to recover from like you do within a muscle building phase. So slightly less volume within the weight training, but remember that weight training's role is just to preserve strength and therefore preserve lean muscle mass within the fat loss phase. So thank you very much for listening. If you're still yet to subscribe to the podcast, please do so, don't miss an episode. And if you're still yet to download my free book, How to Set Up a Nutrition Plan, go to James Layton, Layton Fitness.co.uk. You'll see a tab at the top of the page called free book, and you can download that immediately. I look forward to speaking to you next week. Thank you very much.